Hey folks, Infamous Jack here, and I just got done reading the final issue of Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America with issue 19. Now, for those of you who don't know, Ed Brubaker is the man responsible for writing the character of Captain America and his supporting cast for the last 8 years. Now, yes, I know, even though it's issue 18, 19, he's been writing the book for 8 years. Marvel's weird when it comes to numbering, stuff like that. How was the issue? Well, in my humble opinion, it was great. Fans who've been following his run the entire way through will really appreciate this. There's a nice little mirror image to the very first issue he wrote. And really, if you're reading this issue, you can't help but get a bit emotional, like it's the end of an era. The script here does a great job of looking back at the past of what Ed Brubaker and many other writers have done with the character, but also looking towards the future, which I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. I've been seeing this issue get 9s and 10s, which it definitely deserves. So, I don't want to spoil what happens in this issue for those who haven't read it yet, but definitely pick this one up if you're going into the comic shop. It's definitely worth the price. You know, it's easy to forget, but when Ed Brubaker first took over the book, Captain America wasn't doing all too well. Yeah, I credit this to too many bad stories in the late 90s that just didn't understand the character, but people had really lost interest in him, and honestly, I was expecting the character to just stick around in the pages of Avengers, but nowhere else. But then he took over the book, and he really took some major risk with his run. If you look at what he did, I mean, he brought back Bucky Barnes, act that was thought unthinkable with most Captain America fans. I mean, this was the one death in comics you did not touch. But he did, and not only did he do it, but he did it in a way that was written so well, so that now fans are considering it the best Captain America story ever written, and Bucky has become a fan favorite character. And speaking of what he did to Bucky, he's changes that he did to the character are just so brilliant because if you read a Captain America story before this, you know Bucky was kind of the poor man's Robin. He'd get in trouble, Cap would have to go and save him. But after Brubaker took over, first off, he made Bucky a bit older, and then he made him much more of a black ops type soldier who would go behind enemy lines and do the things that Captain America couldn't because Captain America was a symbol, which is a really smart move on his part, and we're still getting that dark, gritty espionage feel of his stories in Winter Soldier, which is another great book you definitely need to pick up. You know, were I to compare Red Brubaker's run to anyone, I'd compare him to Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. Yes, he didn't invent the character, but when we think Daredevil, it's Frank Miller's Daredevil we think of. He did all the iconic stories that first pop in mind. And I think the same thing can be said about Ed Brubaker. I mean, the list of great stories goes on and on. Captain America Reborn, Death of Captain America, The Winter Soldier Arch, The Red Menace. All of these are considered classics now. They're the best stories for anyone who wants to get into Captain America to pick up. So in closing, I just want to say thank you, Mr. Brubaker. Thank you for so many great stories with Captain America, who's become one of my absolute favorite superheroes over the last 8 years. Thank you, and best of luck with your future projects.